Did anyone actually think the Hawks, at this point in the season, would be around the same place as the Celtics and Heat in the standings? Not many people thought so. Preseason predictions had the Hawks being barely in the playoff race, a borderline playoff team with a losing record. But instead, they've had a winning record since mid-March. Early this season, I even made a video about the Hawks during their slow start, and I noticed how poorly Trae and John Collins were performing. They've not only turned it around, but also uplifted everyone on their team. Eventually, we expect the Hawks were going to be good, after they've rebuilt for a few years, but not this quickly. What kind of transformation did they go through? Anyway, how's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today, let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. Let's get started. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. Apparently, over 60% of my viewers aren't. But hey, if you like the content, drop a sub or a like, and thank you so much for the support. First, we gotta look at Trae Young. At a glance, his numbers are not as good as the year prior. However, the biggest change happened on the defensive end. In the 2019-20 season, Young was literally the worst defensive point guard in the entire NBA. From the eye test and on paper, according to ESPN's RPM metrics, his defensive RPM was a negative 6.17. To give you an idea of how bad that was, the next worst point guard was Isaiah Thomas, and even he was significantly better than Trae. That's such a huge margin. Essentially, as high as Trae's offensive contribution was, he gave up just as much at the other end of the court. Now, in 2021, well, he's still one of the worst defenders, but numerically, he's made a massive improvement. A huge part of this improvement simply has to do with his lower workload on offense. He doesn't need to score 30 every night anymore for his team to have a chance to win, so he can spend more energy on defense. Trae is now taking fewer shots but distributing the ball more, as the Hawks have emphasized a balanced attack since Nate McMillan took over as head coach. He's a guy whose reputation has been quite a mixed bag, but there's no question he's been the major catalyst in revamping the team's offensive identity. Previously, Lloyd Pierce led them to a 14-20 record before getting fired. Nate McMillan took over and went on a massive winning streak. Of course, the firing was a bit unfair for Pierce. A significant portion of the roster was injured when the team was struggling, so perhaps we should have given him the benefit of the doubt. Regardless, it's clear the team has been doing much better under McMillan, who at first was reluctant to take over as the interim coach. According to Mark Bradley of the Atlanta Journal, before Pierce got fired, this is what he observed between him and the players. It was clear by the end that the Hawks had stopped listening. That can happen when a young coach is handed a young team and asked to make something of it. Losing is inevitable at first, and there's no assurance that the losing won't grow so pronounced that the team will begin to doubt the coach and vice versa. Sometimes a different voice is needed, largely for the sake of being different. One of the biggest changes was their endgame execution. For Hawks fans, you probably know how many games the team lost in the fourth quarter under Pierce. After 3 quarters, the game would be very close, and then the Hawks floundered in the fourth. When McMillan became head coach, he completely flipped the script. The Hawks are now first in the league in fourth quarter net rating. Another big change was to focus on player movement, especially for the role players. Previously, it was mainly a two-man show, with Young and Collins taking turns and the rest of the team just standing around watching. Now we see guys like Bogdanovich and Gallinari being utilized to their fullest capability, running around screens to get open shots. They've been a huge part of the offense, and it's been working. DeAndre Hunter, before the injury, saw a massive boost to his touches, and his versatile scoring ability was on full display. 9 different players averaged double digits in scoring, as evident by their balanced attack. The Hawks are 8th in the entire league in offensive efficiency, but they've actually been top 5 since McMillan took over. Here are some examples of how their offense has looked recently. compared to earlier in the season. There were way more times when Trae would just force up shots, even if he's got like no space. This team-oriented approach they've adopted has worked out so well. Now let's take a look at a rather underappreciated duo. I'm not talking about Trae and Collins. I'm talking about Collins and Clint Capela. If you were to rank the best frontcourt duo in the league, I bet you this pair wouldn't be the first to come to mind. However, I don't think there's any other big men duo who complement each other as well as Capela and Collins. Numbers-wise, it's clear they're very productive, but it's more than that. Their skill sets fit together perfectly. In so many ways, they're similar. They can catch lobs and run out in transition. In other ways, they're different. Capela's dominance in the paint provides a nice counter to Collins' more versatile perimeter game. The two of them create such a difficult dilemma for opponents to play against. Every time on offense, they force their defenders to pick their poison. They give them such a different look and they can't prepare for it all the time. Defensively, both of them are very active and very quick, can switch out on smaller guys and give them a hard time. When Trae was asked how much their frontcourt impacts the game, he responded, "I mean, that's two of the best big men duos in the league, with both those guys being lob threats. Clint, what he does on the defensive end is second to none. Collins being able to stretch the floor on offense, they definitely complement each other very well." Their contributions opened up the offense for Trae, especially the addition of Capela. He was the kind of center they desperately needed. It was the biggest void they had to fill, cause previously relying on Alex Len and Damian Jones to be their center, yeah, that wasn't working out. Because of that hole at center, there were times in previous years where Trae was attracting way too much attention on offense, and he didn't have anyone to fall back on. Capela has always been one of the best pick-and-roll big men in the league, and that's exactly what this team was missing, a guy who can threaten to score off a simple pick-and-roll. Paired with a deadly perimeter threat like Trae, they give the Hawks a consistent playstyle they can rely on. As a result, the team is top 5 in pick-and-roll frequency, and number 1 in roll man efficiency. Basically, whoever is the recipient of the pick-and-roll is scoring at an absurd rate. The Hawks have the best rolling bigs in the league. It's been their bread and butter. Equipped with some deadly shooters, the Hawks finally have a game plan that works. Despite their progress, the Hawks are still a bottom 10 defensive team. As of this video, they're 23rd in the league in defensive rating, with multiple players who are statistically a bottom 10 defender at their position. While their frontcourt has been doing their best to contest anything that comes their way, it's the backcourt and wings where the defense is severely lacking. Opponents take one look at them and see a bunch of statues. I don't know if it's the lack of effort, or perhaps they just aren't quick enough in rotating and not getting to their spots on time. The absence of DeAndre Hunter has been huge. Hunter has been their key guy, but due to his knee problems, he missed significant time. According to the on-off metrics, opponents score 6 points per 100 possessions more when Hunter is off the court. He's a massive game changer, the only wing player on the Hawks who drastically improves their defense, while everyone else is a revolving door. If he didn't struggle with injuries, who knows where the Hawks would stand on defense? They'd probably be pretty good, maybe even top 15. This is something they can't control, but it's comforting to know that they've got a bright future ahead once everything comes together. There's a lot to like about the Atlanta Hawks. It's great to see a rebuilding team do it correctly. And it seems like just yesterday when they were tanking for picks. They've got their young core now in Trae, Collins, Hunter, and Reddish. They've surrounded them with capable veterans who fit seamlessly into their game plan. I think most of us expected this team to eventually become competitive and make the playoffs, but seeing this happen so soon, it's very impressive. Even with some mishaps and a slow start to the year, they've been going full steam ahead. A young, humble, well-respected team that should grow into a championship contender in the next few years. Granted, only if management doesn't mess up or make any ridiculous trades. They should be fine. Anyway, that's all folks. Let me know your thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks. I feel like they're doing well, but they've also gone under the radar. How far do you see them going in the playoffs? Do you see them knocking out any of the more established teams of the East? How far will they progress in the next few years? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.